Hi guys, I just thought I'd make you a video this week for your week 11 assignment on the myth of the cave, or the allegory of the cave. So your journal assignment this week refers you to the myth of the cave, which is an interlude in the chapter on critical thinking, internet, advertising, and media. Alright, now the allegory of the cave is taken from Plato's Republic, beginning of book 7. And truthfully, it's one of the most famous stories in all of Western philosophy and all of Western thought, really. It's a powerful analogy, and I want you guys to really delve into it. And for your journal assignment, I've posted a number of thought-provoking questions that's meant to get you guys to use the analogy to understand your own present-day circumstances with more clarity, maybe your present-day relationship with public figures, with the media, advertising, and definitely with the internet. All right, so let's talk about just the content of the cave for a minute, and just too what it's meant to represent for Plato. Plato wrote the allegory of the cave to represent, analogously, his ideas on truth, the light of reason, goodness, and definitely the difference between appearance and reality, and also in many ways the role of the philosopher. Now, I am going to go over the details of the story with you, but I absolutely want you to still read that interlude. I definitely want your journal assignment to reflect your experience reading Plato's dialogue, and that will be very clear if it does or if it doesn't. But I still want to go over the details of the story with you here, just very briefly. Not to say that you won't gain a great deal from actually reading it, you certainly will. Now, imagine that there is a cave, and there are a number of prisoners, cave dwellers, and they're chained to the floor of the cave, facing the direction of a wall. They can only face the direction of that wall, too. That's all they see. It's their entire world. And they're born there, they live their entire lives there, and then they die. And these are conscious human beings, okay? So they're someone with the mental and emotional capacity similar to yourself, all right? Now, behind the prisoners, there is a group of images being held up, okay? And behind the group of images, there's a massive fire. So the fire is casting a light on the images, which is casting shadows onto the cave, all right? And that's what these cave dwellers are, that's what they get to visualize, that's what they see, that's what they come to understand as reality. It is, in essence, all they know, and it's where they gain their information, it's what they have experience of, etc., all right? Now, one person breaks free, is capable of breaking free from his shackles and sneaking behind the rest of the prisoners and getting behind the fire and finding an exit out of the cave, and he crawls out of the cave and he enters Earth, okay? So he's able to go outside into an Earth as we know it. Once he walks outside into Earth, his eyes are immediately burned by the sun. They hurt so bad, he has to shut them, and it takes him a very long time to recover from the initial burn. And then he begins to evolve, right? His eyes begin to adjust to the light of the sun. His mind begins to evolve, and he's able to experience the beauty of Earth in the light of a true sun, okay? And in that experience, he's seeing objects for the first time, right? He sees trees for the first time, the sky, even himself for the first time. He's amazed. He's amazed that this is what the world really is. And then he realizes that he had been trapped in a cave for his entire life, staring at a wall with nothing but shadows. And those shadows were contrived. They were nothing but images that were being projected onto this wall for him and his entire community. He learns so much about the world, and he realizes how much error his ideas of reality were really in back when he lived in the cave, right? So he decides to go back into the cave, to sneak back in, and to free his fellow prisoners so they too can escape the cave prison and go out into regular Earth and experience the world as it really is. And he gets down into the cave and he tries to set them free, and the cave dwellers are just, they're not having it. He tries to tell the cave dwellers, like, hey, just let you know, this is not reality. This isn't the world. What you've experienced your entire life is a lie. And they basically say, get out or we'll kill you. So he escapes. Very troublesome for the guy who escaped there. And the analogy that we're dealing with here has to do, like I said, with truth, goodness, the light of reason, the difference between appearance and reality, and the role of the philosopher. All right, so let's talk about the difference between appearance and reality here really quickly. What you have is you have one individual experiencing that difference, and he's experiencing it very physically. But the physical story there is an analogy for the mental transformation that we can go through by embracing the life of philosophy. That's what Plato is getting at, okay? When you are stuck in the cave, all right, you're staring at this wall with these shadows that are made from contrived images. And that's all you are taking in. That's all the information you're taking in. Your eyes are very blinded to the world around you. And because of that, what you begin to develop as a personality and as a set of beliefs, it's very limited, it's very restricted, and it is built on a lie. It's built on what appears to be real, but what is actually totally false, okay? Now, the guy who escapes the cave, he figures this out because he breaks himself free from the prison, and he runs outside and he's able to see the world as it really is. Now, the way he sees the world as it really is, though, is because there's the sun shining on the world. He's able to see the world because there is light. You notice that initial process of coming into contact with the earth as it appears in reality, it's a little painful, right? This guy first, he has his eyes need to physically adjust to the amount of light the sun is shining on him in the earth. And then once he is able to adjust, then he's able to view the world as it actually is. And in viewing the world as it actually is, he's then able to make a judgment on the world as it previously appeared to him in the cave. He's able to say, based on this new information, I can see now that old information was really flawed. It was responsible for all sorts of bad beliefs, and now I have better beliefs because I went through this process, this painful process of allowing my eyes to evolve according to the sunlight. All right, now that process of evolution, in a lot of ways, that's the process of becoming an educated person and a sharp critical thinker, all right? When you exit the cave or the prison of your false belief, it can be very painful, okay? As we all know, anytime you've ever believed something wholeheartedly, and then you were presented later in your life with just better argument or new information, and you reflect back on that experience, and it's almost a little embarrassing. You're like, oh my gosh, I believed something so wrongly, I was so uninformed. And that can be a little bit of a painful process. But now that you've been given this better information, you have the tools to see the world as it really is and to make good judgments on your past experiences, to evaluate your past beliefs in greater truth than you did before you were exposed to that new information. So the process of traveling up into Earth and allowing the light of the sun to evolve your experience of the world, this is the process of allowing good argument and rational philosophy to evolve the way you experience the world as a conscious individual, to change the way you perceive information in your life coming in, and to be more critical of your beliefs and the beliefs of others and the arguments of others, right? So it's literally the process of learning critical thinking skills and then engaging the world with those critical thinking skills, okay? So not only are we dealing there with the difference between appearance and reality, but we're also dealing with the role of rational philosophy. And in this sense, the sun represents the light of reason, okay? Now, the light too, it's very Apollonian, okay? So very, very ancient Greek, all right? But what you have is when you have the light of reason, when you allow the light of reason to shine down on the way that you psychically experience your life and the way you intentionally, consciously develop belief, okay, then you are coming into greater contact with reality, and you are leaving a prison of false belief that is likely contrived, okay, or designed for you, all right, like the beliefs that the people have in the caves, okay. So here we are, we're dealing with a better life, the life of philosophy, all right. The sun represents the good, okay, and we're dealing with truth, right. The truth is represented by earth and your experience of reality, and we are definitely dealing with the role of the philosopher. The philosopher runs back in the cave and he tries to free people from their shackles. He tries to tell them, you know, I know what you think you know is real, but it's not, and I have a method for you to gain better knowledge, gain a better understanding of your surroundings if you would just listen to me. Now, interestingly enough, not so interestingly enough, I guess, the cave dwellers try to kill the guy who goes back into the cave. And, you know, very similar to the story of Socrates, right? Socrates told the people of Athens, you know, I am a gadfly, right? I am sent here to you to make you better. And of course, then the city of Athens put him to death. What does that tell us? It tells us a lot about the role of the philosopher, but the role of the philosopher is in relationship to society at large, okay? The philosopher is supposed to be a gadfly, just like Socrates, according to Plato. But we have to expect the fact that society will fight back. People do not like to leave the comfort of their caves or the comfort of the means of false, safe information. The last thing they want to go through is some painful, critical process that's going to help them understand the world in a more realistic way. What value does that have for them when their entire community lives in a cave? Okay. So that's a little bit about the allegory of the cave. As you see, very powerful story. And those questions in your journal assignment are, like I said, they're intended to direct you to interpreting the analogy in such a way that you're comparing it to your own circumstances. So just a question, you know, for you guys. Do you know of a cave, like a common cave that people in your family or people in your community are comfortable being shackled in, right? The last thing they want to do is, or the last thing they want to hear is new information, better argument, or a process to believe better, right? All right, guys, that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoy the allegory of the cave. It's really a great work from Plato, and have a great week.